so casual with me that I'm like,
That's funny.
dude.
Yeah, good. Yeah,
Oh, unless it's really exciting that I keep them all together. But I will.
Good morning. Hi, y'all. Can you all hear me all right? Okay. Welcome and good morning to those in the room, and for those of you who are streaming, hello. Glad you could join us. Welcome to our September Identity Inclusion All Staff Gathering. I hope that everyone has been able to take, even if just a second of time and respite and recovery from Wisconsin Welcome. You all have done a really great job, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. So, just a couple of housekeeping. For those of you in the room, there is please continue to snack on the breakfast foods. Thank you, Kathy Kuna, for helping to set up the room. Thank you to Lance for helping us to set up the streaming. There are copies of the PowerPoint both in the box as well as on the tables for those of you who are in the room. For those of you who are streaming, we also have Darcy, who's going to be monitoring the chat on YouTube in case there are any trolls or inappropriate comments. We'll make sure to send them over to Warren to address them forthwith. So thank you for being here. It is so very nice to be able to gather together in both distance ways and in person. So thank you for being here. Again, my name is Gabe Javier, he, him, his. I serve as the Associate Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and Identity and Inclusion. Before we continue, I like to always invite us to take a reflective breath and remember and respect and recall that the University of Wisconsin-Madison occupies ancestral Ho-Chunk land, that the University of Wisconsin continues to think about, reflect on, and repair its relationship with the Ho-Chunk Nation and the other federally recognized 11 sovereign nations in Wisconsin. In November, I'll be working to set up another Indigenous lands tour for anyone in student affairs who has not been able to experience that tour. It's a really great opportunity. So look for that coming up. The Our Shared Future plaque, which you can see on the screen here. The screen has the Our Shared Future plaque as well as a green graphic showing the 11 and 12 federally recognized American Indian Nation of Wisconsin, the Great Seals. The Our Shared Future plaque was taken down while Bascom Hill was being renovated for all that. Remember, for those of you who are around, remember it was all torn up. So they're going to be reinstalling that this week. So thank you. So a little bit about today's meeting. I'll offer some updates and we'll recognize and welcome new staff. I'll take questions and comments about any of those updates as well. You were gracious enough to allow me to assign you all some reading homework. So I'm in grad school again, so I'm taking you all with me. So there's a really great article by Dr. Terrell Strayhorn on belonging that hopefully people get to skim a little bit. So we'll have a discussion on that in the room, and inviting people who are on the stream to also reflect on that article. And comments and questions will also can be reflected and read out to the room via the chat. I will invite our esteemed directors up to give unit updates about the exciting fall that has been and is to be. Then what's also always the highlight of my sort of Identity All Staff Gathering is really to celebrate the staff of Identity Inclusion by sharing the kudos. So kudos are meant to celebrate and recognize not everyday work, extraordinary work, milestones in both life and professional and personal arenas. And so it's important that we as a Identity Inclusion team take time to recognize those kudos. It's also Picture Day. So for those of you who would like to, sort of near the tail end of our time today, there'll be a photographer set up right next door to where the food is. So thank you again, Darcy, for helping to set that up. And you can get some professional headshots made, done. So those will just be first come first serve lineup. If you can't do it today, there is an opportunity to do them tomorrow as well. After 11 to noon tomorrow as well. Sometime in the midday situation, there's going to be more headshots. So for those of you with your first headshot, or perhaps you need an update, or perhaps during the pandemic you grew your hair out really long, like myself or like Kyle. So it's an opportunity to get a new headshot. Picture day is always fun. So cool. So I'm gonna move into our updates. So congrats on Wisconsin Welcome. Give yourselves a round of applause. I think everyone in here has done an incredible job and continues to do an incredible job for welcoming the largest class that UW-Madison has ever had. As you know, we're putting triples and doubles and quads and triples. They're in the people are in the lounges, in the halls. Just checked in with our friends at Vet Services. They've been working their tails off to get our veteran and military connected students the resources they need. We know that Mcburney's numbers have been through the roof, and that team has been meeting challenges left and right. All the welcomes that the MSC and OIE and GSCC have been doing, the numbers have been really through the roof. And we know that at some point we're going to need more resources to do the work that we're doing at the level that we want to do it, right? And so I want you to know that the Vice Chancellor knows that, and we're working to really identify how to make that happen. Our budget season is going to start a little earlier this year, and I'll be working with your directors to identify what that means and what that looks like in the units. We know that Wisconsin Welcome, is it sometimes a point in time where there's an event and there's a big relief, and sometimes it's a continued sort of slow burn of, you're always going to have students coming to your offices for the first time, right? So we know that it's both, it's both acute moment in time and a sustained thing. So your endurance is really amazing to watch. And if there's things that I can do to help make your jobs easier and continue to support you, please know that I want to do that, and please don't hesitate to reach out. With the increased numbers, we are seeing some other downstream effects that have been really challenging. We know that the first 45 days is a really key time to watch with regards to high risk behaviors, including the use of alcohol and drugs on campus, including the prevalence and occurrence of sexual assault. We are in student affairs and housing partnering to figure out both real-time interventions and things that can last through passive programming and etc. The unions, our colleagues in the unions, and our colleagues in housing have incredible staff shortages right now. Especially in their dining operations. So we know that dining, for example, has moved to all you care to eat sort of model in the residence halls, and some of the hours in the union are being curtailed. We know that our colleagues in leadership and engagement have an all-in approach. So many of the C-Fly staff, for example, were sling pizzas once a week. There's a acute shortage of student staff and labor, and I'm sure that you all are feeling that in different ways as well. And so the Vice Chancellor for Finance Administration is gathering a group of folks together, HR managers together, to talk about if there's remedies that can be designed. Any questions? And we have a mic we'll pass around for questions as well. But are there any questions or comments or thoughts about or reflections on Wisconsin Welcome? It was a Leviathan effort, and I hope that we can all take some time to reflect on what we would do, could do, or continue to do. Um, or as a colleague often says, like stop, stay, and start. So. I'm part of a team that includes myself, John Zumbranen, who's the Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning, Cheryl Giddens from the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Educational Achievement, and Greg Steinberger, who's the Executive Director of Hillel. We are participating in a campus climate initiative through Hillel International. So this is, it's included 2 full day trainings about religious, spiritual, cultural life, Jewish identity, and we'll be working with Hillel to determine and ascertain what the experience of our Jewish students is on campus. I'll be working to expand that to look at what spiritual and religious life on campus looks like in general. Been talking to some colleagues around the country. So, for example, Penn State has a really large interfaith center. So, talking about how the students have accessed those spaces and those experiences. Speaking of campus climate surveys, the UW, our campus-wide campus climate survey will be released on the 19th of October and go until the 8th of November. So anything that you all can do in your units to promote students participating and taking this campus climate survey is incredibly important. So it's been about 5 years since we've done this. So there'll be an opportunity to compare data about our students' experiences, see how much, if at all, we've moved the needle between when we did it the first time and this second time. The chancellor will be sending out an invitation email for people to participate in early October, and then it'll launch. And expect this to be one of many asks for you all to push this out and to encourage people to take the campus climate survey. Ning Soon has been representing student affairs on that group, and we've made sure to look at the tool and make sure that there's relevant pieces in there, relevant things relevant to student affairs in there as well. We continue to be a highly vaccinated population on campus. As of a couple days ago, our student vaccination was at 91.4 and our employee vaccination was at 93.4. This is a higher vaccination rate than some campuses that have a vaccination requirement. Now, there are still people who, for any number of reasons, choose to or cannot participate in the vaccination program, which is a personal choice. We know that our colleagues in Office of Student Conduct and Community Standards, as well as some of our colleagues in Mcburney, have been working with both exemption and accountability with regards to vaccinations. You have seen that the testing locations, of which there's one in Union South, there's one in the University Club, in the East Campus Mall Tower, and then one in there's one in the housing facilities as well. The testing numbers are up, and as I've heard, there's lots of people who they would consider the worried well. And I know I've been in this as well, that I've had a cough or my allergies are off, so like I'm just gonna get tested just in case, right? And so there's a lot of people getting tested who are asymptomatic and do not have COVID. So that is putting a strain on some of our testing resources. But We know that our numbers continue to be starting to level off in terms of the positive cases we do have on campus. That said, you may have seen recently that there are flu clinics available. They just started yesterday. So these are, again, free of charge. And if you participate in vaccinations and you want to get a flu shot, I think it's a really great opportunity. So I know that I'll be signing up for one in early October that'll happen in the Pyle Center. There's going to be some here, just here in the Great Hall. And going back to COVID, should there be an opportunity or should there be a program for boosters? University Health Services prepared to participate in that booster program as well. Any questions about those pieces? COVID, flu shots, clarifications, things that I might be able to answer, or perhaps someone else in the room might be able to answer? 30 seconds to see if there's anything that pops up in the. Even though we continue to be a highly vaccinated population on campus, it is absolutely, I'll speak from my own experience. It's been hard for me to unlearn a year and a half of the hypervigilance and the vigilance that we've been really trained to do. I know that, even right now, it's really hard to talk through a mask, right? And I'm sure that you all have experienced really similar things. So it's going to take a while, continue to take time for people to relearn a campus culture that includes masks, relearn a campus culture that includes additional precautions, additional accommodations, and thinking about how we can help people feel comfortable in spaces again. We've had some really large student events already, including convocation, right? And so, including the MSC and the GSCC have had some really large events. There's an open house at the hub tonight, so there's really big events happening already. And I appreciate all the care that people have taken to make those events open, accessible, and safe for people. Homecoming is upon us, believe it or not. In just about a month, homecoming is on a direct crash course with Halloween. So what could go wrong? Rihanna is, throwing knives at me right now. But it is an exciting time. So look for the homecoming schedule to come out soon if you haven't already seen it. What's really significant is there are many things that are significant about this, right? So it's a great time for celebration. Homecoming is a great time for celebration, to welcome a lot of our alums back, to celebrate campus and campus culture. It can also be a really challenging time for certain populations of our students who don't feel comfortable or choose not to drink, right? Or don't participate in alcohol culture. Um, the couple things that I'll note, that Tuesday of homecoming week, there is a special reception, rededication of the Gender and Sexuality Campus Center. So that'll be really exciting. Look for more information about that. That Friday of homecoming week is the parade, right? The parade is now a student affairs production. The Wisconsin Union and our colleagues in leadership engagement are now the lead planners of the parade that stages on Langdon and then goes up Langdon and then down State Street. So we've been talking about how as student affairs can we participate. So there'll be an opportunity and a call out for people to participate in homecoming and for you and your partners and families, children and spouses, to come and walk in the parade behind the student affairs banner and give out ice cream. Not ice cream, candy. I'm sure there'll be ice cream somewhere, but it's been fun when we've done it in the past, if the weather cooperates. And I think it'll be, the union is working really hard to make it, to revive this homecoming tradition. So look for more information about that, but this is a sneak preview of the opportunity to participate in homecoming. Um, there is no Freak Fest this year. So Freak Fest, for those of you who don't know, is the city's Halloween celebration. And so Freak Fest has been postponed or canceled again this year. So there is a little bit of concern about what students will, frankly, what students will do on that Saturday night. So we are working really closely to help the city figure that out, frankly, because I know that we have very limited capacity to continue to do events at a large scale. Homecoming questions or things that people want to add about homecoming too. So there's a question: is the after the large scale events that have happened, have we seen increase in COVID cases? We have not seen super spreader events. There have been upticks. So in so after the first week of football, right? They looked at that, um, and there's not been what people would consider super spreader. Other questions, homecoming or otherwise? If anyone knows how to build floats, see you after class. Um, the diversity, inclusion, and social justice committee is still looking for members. So if you don't know who your unit rep is, or if you are in the unit and would like to represent your unit and the interests and be involved in this sort of across student affairs committee, there's still opportunities to do that. I want to take a minute to shout out Cristian Noriega and Claudia Guzman, the MSC and the LCC team. Yesterday, yeah, not yesterday. What day was that? Monday. The U.S. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona and the Governor Tony Evers, as well as State Superintendent of Schools Joe Underly, came to campus. They wanted to talk to Latinx students. So it was a really great opportunity for some of these students to have an incredible experience of talking with the top educator in the country about their experience as Latinx students in the Red Gym in the Latinx Cultural Center. So shout out to that team for making that happen. Um, and we got really positive feedback from our colleagues in government relations and the secretary. So thank you. I want to recognize and welcome our new staff. If you're in the room, if you could wave and say hi. Greetings from the GSCC to Whitney Anderson, who's just started. Hello. From Nolan Prisma from OIE, all the same table. Great. May Sakano from the MSC, who isn't here, but we're able to reel back from just graduating undergrad. Kyle, Caitlin, Noel, Jeff, Cody, and Paul from Mcburney. Greetings. Amanda from Yes, hello. And Wanda from our central staff. So welcome you all. Welcome. So as you all know and have heard me talk about, one of the things that as we're thinking about the mission and vision of student affairs, as we're thinking about where to concentrate our efforts in identity and inclusion, as we're thinking about the important and rich data that our colleagues in prevention and led by Rianda we've seen talking about a student's sense of belonging. Our previous dean of students, Lori Brooklyn, used to think about our five senses, or one of our senses being a sense of belonging, along with our sense of place and our sense of community. So Dr. Terrell Strayhorn has done, used to be at Ohio State University, has done a lot of scholarship around a sense of belonging, and wrote a short article a few years ago that was in medium.com that I shared with y'all and have asked people to read and reflect on. about 5 things to know about student sense of belonging, insights from my Uber driver's daughter. What I'd like to do is invite people on their tables to reflect on the article. I've asked directors at each table to lead the discussion and reflection on these, asking folks who are streaming to also participate by jotting down some notes or commenting in the YouTube comments on a couple of questions, right? So, what resonated with you in reading the article? What elements of the article connect with your work, job, or role? And what are some of the implications of the article on student affairs? So, really thinking about my own personal reaction, what does it mean on my team, and what does it mean as a member of student affairs organization, right? I think this is, to me, a really helpful way of framing and thinking about what could be a really amorphous or unfamiliar topic. Like, what does it mean to belong? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite folks for about 10 minutes to discuss at their tables. I'll ask maybe some tables to collapse if there's just a couple people at the tables. If not, it looks like every table, we might need a facilitator for the Whitney table over there, and a facilitator here at Sue's table. So if our directors could spread themselves around a little bit. Oh no, Sue's right there. Yeah, Sue and Wanda can do that. So we'll put 10 minutes on the clock, and then we'll come back out, and I'd love to hear some reflections. So about 10 minutes, we'll be back on screen for those of you on YouTube.
Jokes.
This is your 2-minute warning, please. 2-minute warning. Okay. Wrap up our last thoughts, please. There's been a really great and active conversation in the chat on YouTube as well. So I'm really glad that people were able to engage and participate in the article. So I'd love to hear maybe from each table. I'd love to hear a takeaway or a summary of what you all talked about, and reactions. It could be yours personally, if you'd like to share that, or a summary of the table. So I'll pass around the mic. Okay, would you like to go first?
Sure, I can start. So my name is Caitlin. I'm from the Mcburney Center. We sort of made some connections to the belongingness workshop that some of us attended. And we also just sort of talked about how we can maybe do things a little differently in our own practice at Mcburney when we first make connections with students. So we were thinking like providing space for students to really share about themselves instead of that like constant questioning or grilling that sometimes we feel like we're doing. And we also talked about just how powerful it is to have student workers at Mcburney that can share their own experiences, um, and kind of like relate and have maybe some more like empathy with students, just because they can connect on that level.
Great. So the idea of connection, right? So not necessarily going straight to the task or the presenting mean, but getting to know a background about a person, and also the value of our student staff who are able to share about themselves. And that student being a student staff member is in of itself a very effective intervention in place to that uh, that heightens a sense of belonging. Well, thank you. Anyone else at the table want to mention anything? Okay. Sue?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So we talked about a lot of the same things that you all did. One thing that we noted is that our student staff may meet a student how they would like to be or would feel like they belong. And so it may be beneficial to have some overall student staff training to try to meet a student where they are or where they would like to be when they walk into our spaces. So I did think that was a great idea. And then I think just towards the end of our conversation, we just said that we can't make a student feel like they belong in all places on campus, but we can start with where we are, the space that we are in, and try to help make them feel like they belong here. And then, hopefully that's helpful. So.
Great, thank you. So the idea of what sort of skills and competencies and types of belonging experiences do all student staff have, right? So that's one piece. And then understanding what our spheres of control are and our spheres of influence about what can we do in our own spheres and doing that really well. Cool, thank you. Or your table, Prisma, you take.
Hello. Okay. We talked about measuring sense of belonging and how often that should happen throughout the semester. We talked about the differences in populations and how sense of belonging might show up for them or not show up for them. And I think lastly, overall as a theme, we all were pretty critical about sense of belonging being positive and negative, and students wanting less talk, more action, and how we can pay attention to that.
Great, thank you for that, for the critical lens on that. So the positive and negative ways that we think about sense of belonging, right? So as the article talked about, it's not just about fit, right? It's not just that everyone, is the same person, right? That's not belonging necessarily, right? Um, and also, how does one measure and how often does one measure? What are people using as the measure for sense of belonging? Great, thank you. Claudia, your table have.
Hi, Amanda from University Veteran Services. We talked a lot, or at least I brought up the point of being able to visit campus before deciding you're going to attend. We get contact from a lot of prospective students who are either not in the country or they are on the other side of the country. And so knowing that, students being able to visit where they're going to attend is pretty important when it comes to what their day-to-day life looks like and how they feel that they belong, as well as just looking at the intended path of study. I thought was very interesting. The fact that in this article, the prospective student talked about how important it was that their prospective path of study was represented when we know about half of students change their mind. So how does that reflect in our work and what does that look like? And for us at University Veteran Services, we have some pretty strong compliance rules when it comes to what program of study students are currently in. So what does that look like when it changes?
Great, thank you. It's really great direct application to your work at UVS. Thinking about people's intended path of study and whether that changes, which it often does. And for some people, that can be often a real sort of not crisis, but an identity questioning sort of thing, saying like, I've thought my whole life I was going to be pre-med. Well, we know that a lot of people coming into college pre-med often don't end up being pre-med, right? So if that is part of their identity, how does that shift it? And visiting a place, so a sense of place being really important to people. Great, thank you.
Yeah, we talked about, Caitlin from OIE. We talked about the intersection of the work that we do to bolster or foster sense of belonging, and then the overall campus climate. And how do we address both of those? Is that just our work? How do we expand that? We also spent some time thinking about the measures and what students tell us and how we can build community and trust with those students for them to be vulnerable and tell us the truth about our impact and things happening on campus. And then we also spent some time reflecting on the importance of pausing and thinking of the wins or the successes that we have in terms of sense of belonging, but also still fostering a culture of sense of belonging work is ongoing, and it's going to be something that needs to be continually addressed and not just a one and done mindset.
Right. So, like with engaging any of our senses, it's something that we try to engage in a holistic way often. So, engaging a sense of belonging is not a one and done, as you said. And also, there are really effective things that we're doing as a team and as individuals to help people connect. So, what are those things and celebrating those wins? Some of the comments in the chat were talking about how do you check in about a student's sense of belonging without it being performative, without calling someone's identity out in a way that doesn't feel authentic, right? Again, talking about whose responsibility it is to continue to talk about and measure and those things. Sorry, Whitney, did you want to add something? Oh, okay. Yes, we are assigning responsibility. Look in your TTC for that. Um, so, so thank you. I would really love for. So first of all, are there any comments or any things that people want to put into the space or reflections on the article that have not been shared that people would like to share? I'm going to check the chat real quick. A little bit more commentary about what are the practical markers of sense of belonging. So what does that look like? And then someone put in rainbow flag emojis. So my hope is that we can, as an identity inclusion team, be able to think about when someone asks us, like, well, when you say you foster a sense of belonging, what does that mean? Right? So developing a sense of what a sense of belonging is and what that means. Filtered through your own experiences, filtered through the nature of their work or job, and filtered through your experience as a staff member in student affairs. Right, so that is what I hope this article helps us to start to do, because I want us to be able to authentically speak about the work we do through the lens of fostering a sense of belonging. Right, and it's really important to me that people are able to have opportunities to reflect on that. And so this article, regardless of your job or role in student affairs or in identity and inclusion, what people's part and contribution to that is really super important. And I want you all to be able to feel like you have the tools to be able to talk about that. So that's one of the goals of the articles like this. I encourage you, if you have advisory boards or faculty groups or other student groups that you work with, share this article. I think we'll be sharing this article with our Student Affairs Board of Visitors, and get people's thoughts about what they think. Because I think that the really critical questions around this as well, around how do we measure it, for whom, why, what are the interventions, are they resourced, are all really important questions too. So thank you all for in the room and in online for engaging each other in this article. I'm happy to take any other feedback, as well as if you have other articles or things that you're like, hey, I think this is something worthy that or something like really valuable in our field to discuss too. We can definitely want to provide those experiences. So thank you very much. Okay, time for department updates. This is the order by which the updates will be going. Folks, note that. So I believe first we have University Veteran Services, and you can give them from your seat if you'd like. The mic will be going around, so I believe, I think Joe is watching online. Hi, Joe. But Adam.
Hello, everyone. I'm Adam Kale. He, him, his pronouns. Up there at University Veteran Services. So on August 1st, some new federal legislation went into effect that effectively doubled the amount of work our office had to do. So much of our work in the last few months has been trying to stay or get within compliance of that new legislation. So in the process, we've already assisted over 700 students for the fall term. We have a few remaining, but we're doing a lot of good work there. We're mostly through that fall rush that's so stressful on our office at the beginning of each semester. Then looking forward, we're already setting up ways in which we can better serve students in future semesters. So we're working with admissions to try to identify military connected students earlier in the process so we can communicate with them earlier, be within that federal compliance, and then provide them a better experience as they transition to this campus. A few weeks ago, we put on a veteran resource event here at Memorial Union, and it was very successful. It seemed like students were quite eager to get back to those in-person events. It was a really great turnout in my 3 or so years here in different capacities. It's probably one of the best turnouts we've had, so that was very exciting, and it's kind of motivated us to, provide more of those in the coming months. We already mentioned we welcomed a new staff member here, Amanda, earlier this summer. She's been super helpful. It's been amazing how quickly she's been able to pick it up and take some of that off of Joe and myself. And then, finally, we also presented some training to advisors, which has been extremely helpful. Going back to the compliance that Amanda mentioned earlier, just having advisors on the same page as us and understanding the rules that the VA puts in place, and then them understanding those rules at SOAR it's been great so far, and hopefully we can continue to do that to improve that process going forward. Yeah, did I miss anything? I think that's about it.
Great. Thank you very much. Let's clap. Office of Inclusion Education, Caitlin.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Caitlin Lamonti. I use the pronouns she and her. So first, we were able to welcome two wonderful new staff members, Noel and Prisma. So excited to have them with us. We also have an actual physical office location. So we are in the Red Gym on the first floor in Suite 123. So this is the former Gender and Sexuality Campus Center space. So please feel free to stop by and see us. We also have some space on the second floor of the Red Gym. So that is the Social Justice Resource Center space. That is where Prisma and her team are located. And then in Union South, we have our Social Justice Hub, which is located on the second floor right outside of, I want to say, Varsity Hall and the Marquee area. So please feel free to stop by and check out those spaces and visit with us. First update around Our Wisconsin. So this is the second year of Our Wisconsin now being a required diversity training for all incoming first year and transfer students. So as of this morning, 9,219 students have been through that program. We can think of Our Wisconsin in three parts. So the first part is that online required diversity module. If students do not take that course, a hold will be placed on their account, and then they cannot register for spring 2022 classes. So that was open from August 2nd to August 26th. Part two, which is now also open for students, is a follow-up survey, about 15 minutes, getting their reflections, trying to capture some information around their experience since they've come to campus. And then part three, which will be new for us this semester, will be in-person additional programming. So working with our colleagues in university housing and residence life to do some follow-up, trying to apply the skills that they learned in part one of Our Wisconsin into how they can incorporate that in their lives and in building relationships on campus. Regarding social justice education programs, so last year, 135 virtual workshops were facilitated. This year, due to capacity and training new folks, we're going to limit that to 50 workshops for the fall. We are getting close to that number. So if you or your student staffs have any requests, please do submit those as soon as possible. We also have 2 micro courses that were created in collaboration with the university libraries that we're also utilizing. For the Social Justice Hub, they had their first ever Social Justice Org Fair and had a great turnout of 100 plus students, lots of energy, lots of different social justice related campus partners and student orgs represented at that event. Tonight, the Hub will have an open house. So if you happen to be in Union South, because I want to say tonight is also night with the union. There's going to be a lot of events in Union South tonight. Please do stop by and check out the hub and get to meet the wonderful students that help to put on programming there. And then if you read the Badger Herald, there is a recent article about the hub's housing equity team and some of the work that they've been doing on campus.
Thank you. Multicultural Student Center.
Okay. Good morning. Claudia Guzman, she, her, hers. Yes, I did not bring my computer or print anything. So we have had a lot of amazing events over the past few weeks. So we started off with an open house over 3 days between the first day of move-in and Wisconsin Welcome, and had 400 students come through over those 3 days. So thanks to the GSCC for partnering with us on that. We just wanted to make sure that after a year of being pretty much not fully shut down, but not fully operational, we wanted students to be welcomed back into the building or to just step foot into it for the first time before all of the major events started kicking off. So that was awesome. We had our 33rd annual MCORE on Friday, September 10th with 18 student performances and over 1,000 students in Shannon Hall. So that was very highly attended. At first, the theater was wondering if we even needed to open the balcony, and I was like, yes, absolutely. And I'm very glad because we had students all the way up to the very top row. So thanks to OIE staff and other folks who came out to help with that because we needed a lot of hands. Then the meetup was last Friday. Over 500 students came through the Red Gym to meet with more than 50 student orgs. Again, I've been asking for lots of help from staff across identity and inclusion and student affairs. So thank you so much for your assistance with all of these major programs, which are mostly done. However, our new student welcome receptions have been highly attended, more so than in past years. So the Latinx Cultural Center had over 150 students last Wednesday. The APITA Student Center had over 100 on Tuesday. Tonight, we have the Black Cultural Center's reception, and then Monday, Native Student Welcome will be at Gordon Commons. So I've mentioned recently also that the MSC is now stewarding the American Indian Student and Cultural Center over on Brook Street, as well as the Mecha House. And so with that, we're also amping up our support for Native and Indigenous students. And with that, we'll have a new program coordinator starting on October 4th. So soon I'll be making a formal announcement of who that is so we can all welcome them. And then finally, we are in the throes of Latinx Heritage Month and lots of awesome events, including a great keynote in partnership with the GSCC. So you can find all of those details at the URL on the slide. Thank you.
Sorry, sitting awkwardly in the middle of the room. I thought this might be easier, but hi everybody, Mari Magler, she, her pronouns with the Mcburney Disability Resource Center. Few updates. I always like to share data, the data that we have. So I'll start with that. We experienced a big jump last year in the number of students that are affiliated with the Mcburney Center, with a total of 3,667 students affiliating last year. That's over 700 student increase from the year before, where we ended the year with about 2,900 students affiliated. 700 students in 1 year is more than double what we usually experience in a year. We're usually like 250 to 400 students a year, kind of every year increasing. So last year was a pretty significant jump. Worth mentioning, I started the fall of 2016. So the 3,600 students affiliated with us last year is 2,000 more students than we had in the fall of 2016 when I started. So definitely lots of growth happening as it is everywhere. Our access consulting team added consultants. We kind of added staff, as you saw on the slide earlier, across the board. Really thankful for the additional help and support during a busy summer and start to fall. We are fielding requests. We're still in like all COVID all the time, right? So we're fielding requests related to the face covering requirements on campus, related to the nasal swab testing, COVID testing on campus, as well as working with students who are requesting remote access as an accommodation related to a disability or medical need. Some of these are new and complex processes, right, that we're just kind of all learning and working collaboratively with many folks across campus on. In addition to the kind of regular quote unquote day-to-day work that happens in the Mcburney Center providing accommodations, our team also developed and implemented a note-taking skills workshop for incoming freshmen. So just launched that this year. It was a successful addition for onboarding new freshmen. We hope to continue that in future semesters. In the first week of school, our adaptive tech team has had more accommodation requests than we did all of fall of 2020. So just again, more things, right? All the things. Some more numbers from our front desk team. So between June and the middle of September, the Mcburney Center scheduled 1,100 meetings with access consultants, which is about a 29% increase over the same period last year. 260 trainings so far with our adaptive tech team. That is 150% increase over the same time period last year. So lots of increases there. We're doing some more things with technology and looking at different ways to provide accommodations for students, piloting some technology on iPads as an alternative to other approaches to note-taking support that can be useful for students. Our front desk has answered over 2,000 calls and about the same number of emails during that same time period as well. And then finally, I'll just mention that our Mcburney Center Orientation and Services Training, which we call MOST, this is usually an in-person event that we do every fall before classes begin for new incoming freshman students. We've done it virtually the last 2 years, so we finished up our second virtual iteration of MOST this fall, inviting over 330 students to participate, and almost 250 of those have actually completed all of the modules associated with that. So that's a little bit about the Mcburney Center.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Warren Shear with the Gender and Sexuality Campus Center. My pronouns are per and pers. Start with welcoming Whitney Anderson. Thank you so much for choosing us. Highlighting there during the ice cream social, we took a staff photo. We haven't had an updated staff photo in quite a few years, so that was exciting, just outside the Red Gym in the Pyle Center courtyard. Our connection to gender inclusive housing in Merritt Hall remains strong. Gender inclusive housing is full, and in our regular contact with a House fellow, it is going well and the students are feeling connected. Before the start of the fall semester, we offered $3,500 in scholarships to new students. So this is a new venture for us. Our previous scholarships excluded new students, so we were happy to extend those scholarships to the new students. Our Discord server, which we launched in spring of 20, shortly after the shutdown, welcomed its 300th person on September the 10th. And we got to celebrate that person in person because they joined us at kickball that day. Our successful Wisconsin Welcome events so far, including our collaboration with the Multicultural Student Center. We had over 500 contacts in 2 weeks. Personally, the introvert in me was exhausted. This included our drop-ins, the ice cream social, and kickball. So highlighting a photo from some of the students who joined us at kickball on Friday the 10th. Wonderful event and a beautiful day at that. One of the things that I've mentioned to you all before, so the Gender and Sexuality Campus Center in the expansion of our space now has reservable space. So go.wis.edu/GSCC reserve gives folks across student affairs, but we prioritize the 15 student organizations that are affiliated with the campus center. and our siblings across identity and inclusion in reservation of those spaces. So we have our 18 to 20 person capacity conference room and approximately 3-person capacity break or quiet room. That quiet room is primarily used for mentor meetings and meetings with mental health providers. So students are using that space for teletherapy, for example. And because it is imminent, the Midwest Bisexual, Lesbian, Gay, Transgender, Asexual College Conference is fast approaching. It is October the 8th through the 10th, so a Friday through Sunday at Monona Terrace. Registration is open and going well. If you have students who are interested, we still have free spots available or free tickets for UW students. They need to register through the campus center. And we are still welcoming volunteers. I know that is also family weekend, but if you have a volunteer shift in you and can be at the convention center, go.wist.edu, MBLGTACC volunteer would, so please feel free to sign up. And then as Gabe mentioned before, we have our homecoming event on Tuesday, October the 26th. We are calling Homecoming Out. The primary audiences for that will be alumni, but we will welcome any campus community member to that event as well as a rededication of the campus center space. Thank you, everyone.
Or can you hear Wanda?
All right, good morning, everybody. I'll start with the TTC update. So congratulations, you've all finished job mapping. You all have new titles that are in the system, so great job. Thank you for all of your participation and work in that. For those of you who don't know, TTC is Title and Total Compensation Project. It's a project meant to redesign our titles and salary structure to make it more market informed so that we're more comparable to outside other businesses, organizations, things like that. Next steps for TTC is between October 11th and November 5th, you guys will all receive an official email notification saying this is your new title. And then after that, the salary structure will be released November 1st. And then November 7th is when it goes live. And then your appeal process, if you do not disagree, if you don't agree with the title that you've been mapped to and you would like to appeal that process will start November 22nd and end December 31st. That's really your only window to appeal that title. So what can you appeal? You can really only appeal your title. You cannot appeal salary, the assigned salary range, the language in the position description, and then your FLSA exemption status. So those things can't be appealed. How the appeal will work, if you disagree, you talk to your supervisor, and then they'll bring HR in. We'll have a conversation. If it's not resolved to your satisfaction, then after that, it would go to Central OHR, so Central Human Resources. They'll look at it, they'll make a determination. If you still disagree, then after that, it goes to a panel that will look at it. They'll give their determination. And then after that, it goes up to the UW-Madison Chief HR Officer, Mark Walters, and then he ultimately makes the final decision. So that's that process for TTC. And then ABE, which is the Annual Benefits Enrollment Period, or some people know it as open enrollment. That's going to start really soon, September 27th through October 22nd. This is really important for you guys to reevaluate the benefits you have and then make new decisions or determinations about your benefits. So really take this seriously and go in and look at your benefits. So how will you do it? You're going to go to My UW portal and then go to the benefits tile and then look at doing new benefits during that time period. If you have an FSA, flexible spending account, an HSA, health savings account, or if you're in the health insurance opt-out incentive, those things always have to be re-enrolled every year. So if you're in that, you have to go and re-enroll every year. So don't forget to do that. That's it. If you have any questions, You can come to me. I'm not the benefits expert. Linda Bells in our office is the benefits expert. You can come to us and we will try to help you through it. Thank you.
Waiting for me to talk? Okay. Hi. Sue Dewar, Budget and Finance Manager, and she, her pronouns. So what are my team and I doing this fall? With budgets being solidified, we're now trying to help you spend your money. So we're working on yay! We're working through contracts with you for entertainers that you might be bringing to campus. We're making payments to vendors and different providers that you're working with. All payments are now, all ordering or payments to vendors are done through Shop UW Plus, which we're all still learning, except Tammy, who is our resident expert. And I should mention the only other avenue for paying for something would be Pro Card payments. So one note I'd like to make about anything that you're purchasing, if you have any questions about what you're purchasing, if something just seems like a little off or it's just a little different than normal, please contact Tammy, Julia, or I, and we'll talk to you prior, hopefully, to making that purchase so we can help you work through it so the purchase is both the best way, most efficient, and then of course legal, because we do want everything to be legal here too. And then one note about Pro Card payments: if you're buying something with your purchasing card, it should be all tax exempt in states where it's allowed, and definitely in Wisconsin if you're buying something from Wisconsin. Our tax exempt number did change, and I'm told it's a soft launch. So if you're using the old tax exempt number, you still can for a bit, but we do have little note cards or little laminated cards. So if you don't know what the new tax exempt number is, please ask us, one of us. We have hundreds of little cards that we would be happy to pass out. And just a one note about the tax exempt. So if you do purchase something and they charge you tax for it and they shouldn't have, you actually, as the card holder, need to work with the vendor to reimburse you for that. And you have 60 days to do it. And so if it's not done, unfortunately, our auditors have this program that they do, and they seem to, every time we have something that we think, oh shoot, I hope that doesn't get caught by audit, it almost 100% of the time does. So just so you know. And what will happen then is you'll probably get a warning if you haven't had one before on your card, and then the next step is a revocation of the card. So if you don't want to be a card holder long term, then okay. But if you do want to keep buying stuff with it, then we really encourage you to take care of that as soon as you can. And I think that's all I have. Spend, spend, spend.
Thank you, Sue. I'm cognizant of time. We just have a couple minutes left, so I'm gonna try to read through the kudos as quickly as possible. Hopefully, not too quickly, but again, these are the PowerPoint is available to see the kudos in the box that I sent out yesterday. Really, the TLDR, these kudos, you all have done amazing work, and I really want to thank you all on behalf of Student Affairs for everything you've done. So kudos to Mitchell for taking the lead in the absence of an HR manager. Kudos to Mari for continued support and navigation. New requests on wordsmithing skills. The Mcburney team is in great hands thanks to you. Kudos to Terry for your tremendous leadership of the DHH team under the massive load of CART requests this fall. As the DHH team continues to grow with 9 full-time staff and close to 15 part-time CART hourlies, we appreciate all of the extra time, energy, and passion. Kudos to Caitlin. Caitlin has done a great job of onboarding new professional staff to make us feel comfortable and welcome to DW-Madison. Kudos to Tiffany, Warren, and Catherine Trigg-Briggs for being so warm, patient, and inviting during my first month in my new role. Kudos to Christiane Noriega, who has jumped into the fall 2021 semester with a Latinx Heritage Month. His commitment to students and leadership in leading the Student Planning Committee has been pivotal in welcoming students back to an in-person semester. Kudos to Lauren Adams, who's been a supportive colleague this time in transition, always asking the critical questions and why. Kudos to Claudia for her leadership and navigating the shifting changes and transition of the MSC. Kudos to Kathy Kuno for supporting and organizing so many projects and initiatives. Kudos to Gwinnett. You're doing all the things. You still managed to make time in order to help your fellow staff members and the students that we serve. Kudos to Jesse, Kate Lou, Kyle, Mari, Terry, and Todd. Calm and level-headed leadership is so appreciated in this busy and uncertain time. Kudos to Noel and Jeff for quickly learning your new roles and supporting students with communication and accommodations. The first week of class was full of technical difficulties, but your tenacity prevailed. Kudos to Joe, Amanda, and Adam at UVS for hosting the first Veterans Fair and Resource and Lunch. It was a wonderful way to welcome our military-connected students to campus. Kudos to Jim and the SJ Hub intern team for hosting successful SJ Org Fair. The event had great energy and was very impactful to witness. Kudos to Catherine Sherrick Briggs, Rianda Washington, Noel Mariano, and Caitlin Lamonte for the deployment of our Wisconsin for 9,000 plus incoming first year and transfer students. Kudos to Noel and Jeff. Again, thank you for your hard work preparing for the start of the semester and jumping in to provide access to students and service providers. Smiley face. Kudos to Terry. With the new TTC changes on the horizon, you've worked countless hours to ensure accommodation scheduling software is able to handle the transition to the new pay structure. Kudos to Jeff and Noel. Thank you for your professional handling of audio and tech issues that have arisen between the now 18 cart captioners and hundreds of hours of cart classes this fall. You are both a tremendous asset to the DHH program. Kudos to Tiffany, Prisma, Noel, Rianda, and Jim for their continued adaptability and dedication to supporting students. OIE continues to grow due to your work and expertise. Kudos to Mitchell for his excellent and diligent work on TTC and ensuring that our entire division was in compliance with TTC deadlines. Mitchell, again, for supporting so many searches and onboarding staff this summer. Definitely MVP, Mitchell. Kudos to Teresa for showing up to the GSCC Ice Cream Social to be voluntold how to welcome and orient students. Kudos to Tiffany for clearing numerous hurdles like an Olympian while chairing the search to fill the program coordinator position. Like the Olympic shout out. Kudos to Kathy Kunau for keeping us organized and always ordering yummy all-staff food. Kudos to OIE. Major kudos to OIE for being a fantastic resource to students in our campus community. Kudos to the SJ Hub team, as well as coordinators Anna and Madeline for the successful first annual Social Justice Org Fair. Kudos, DHH team, you're crushing it with handling requests and problem solving. Our students appreciate all of you going above and beyond. Kudos to Noel, who's constantly displaying acts of kindness to staff and students. They make sure to make it a point to share in community each week to check in on others. Kudos to Kate for managing our study and learning skills specialists and keeping things running smoothly during the pandemic. Also, thanks to Kate for managing our spring 2021 scholarship application and award process, as the Mcburney Center granted over $100,000 in scholarships this year. Kudos. Kudos to all you all Mcburney staff and student staff who've participated in managing onboarding for our new colleagues. Kudos to Jenny, Chris, and Nick for organizing, planning, and hosting the first roundtable for hourly CAL providers in August. Kudos to the Access Consultant team. Another smiley face. You're all rocking the semester in this time of uncertainty and organized chaos. You're cool as cucumbers. Kudos to Adam for managing the gigantic number of GI Bill certifications, which is easily enough work for 2.5 people. Kudos to Paul and Caitlin. Thank you to Paul and Caitlin for quickly getting on board as we manage the remote learning requests on top of our typical fall marathon. You're outstanding. Kudos to Todd for all the support you give to your coworkers and the many extra hours you put in to ensure students have access to their education. Kudos to Katie for going above and beyond to ensure students have access to accessible course materials. Your dedication to the students you work with is greatly appreciated. Kudos to Cody for starting a new position at a very busy time of the year. Thanks for stepping in and helping with anything that's needed. Kudos, Kathy Kunau, for putting together the kudos for these meetings and all the great work you do, especially accepting late kudos with grace and understanding. Kudos to Mari. Thanks for supporting the McBurney Center staff. Your thoughtfulness and support are greatly appreciated. Kudos to Annie and Katie, student staff, for working extra hours, with furniture accommodation requests. Kudos to Kate Liu. Thank you for your dedicated to work to ensure students have successful DHH accommodations. The way you're able to organize a very large card schedule center was truly unbelievable. You made it what seemed impossible possible. Kudos to May Sakano, who stepped in a professional staff role at the MSC this summer after graduating from UW-Madison from the class of 2021. May's been an amazing addition to the team and led successful production of MCore this year, as well as the MSC student intern training. Kudos to Noel and Jeff. Thank you for taking on the first week of fast-paced twists and turns with confidence and smiles. You did it and provided great real-time support and captioning staff to students. Kudos to Mitchell, Linda, Sue, Julie, and Tammy for supporting the Mcburney Center. You're an integral part of the team, supporting students and access. Kudos to Terry, Kate, Sam, Jenny, Nick, and Chris thank you for helping to prepare everyone for the semester, making a shift back in person, being adaptable with a very large schedule, and continuing to fill more departmental requests. Kudos to Caitlin, Prisma, and Noel, to our friends at OIE for always being there to support the MSC and events. Always so grateful that you volunteered for your time and lending a helping hand. Kudos to Rihanna Washington for her expertise and work with all things data related. Your attention to detail, vast knowledge, and dedication to diversity, equity, and inclusion have been essential. Kudos to Noel and Prisma for joining the OIE team and fully embracing the onboarding experience. You've brought joy and knowledge to the team, and we're so thankful to have you with us. Kudos to Lauren, Tav, Christian, and May, the small but mighty MSC team. Kudos in orchestrating several widely successful welcome events, including the open house, MCore, the meetup, and new student welcome programs. Your work makes students feel welcomed, affirmed, cared for, and supported. It's always a lot of fun. Kudos to Gwinnett, Katie, and Cody. What a great team. Thank you, Gwinnett, Katie, and Cody, for putting in the extra effort to figure out what will work best for students, fielding the extraordinary influx of requests, and hiring great students. Kudos to May, who destroyed the MSC Pro staff, jumped in to lead the intern team, coordinate MCore, and assist with the MSC programming initiatives. Kudos to Ryan Keegan. Thank you for all that you do every day. The Mcburney Center would not make it through a day without you. Kudos to y'all. So again, if there are folks who aren't here today or are not with us online, please share that they received kudos by sharing the slide deck. Thank you all so much for your time and attention. I really appreciate all the work that we do as a team. There are undoubtedly extra breakfast snacks over there, so please take some back to your teams. The photos are happening in this very room in like 10 minutes. If you want to participate in photo day, that's about to happen. Shout out again to Kathy Kuno for your help today, for Lance for helping us stream, for Darcy for the chat. It's so nice to be with you all this morning. Thank you all very much, and have a continued great rest of this fall semester. Take care.
I know, that's why we're shunning twins. I want you to stick together. All his kudos. Yeah. We should have had I was gonna say something. I'm trying not to be super direct. Yeah, exactly. I have my review at 11. I don't even know anything about it. He knows like I just told him.